Hello, and welcome to Catholic Relief Services presentation on CRS's HIV and AIDS programming. Allow me to present myself. My name is Dr. Michelle Farmer. I am one of CRS's HIV technical advisors, and I've also provided you my email address in case you need to contact me. The objectives for today's presentation are as following. The participants will be expected at the end of my presentation to understand CRS's HIV strategy. The participants will know the 4 priorities for CRS's HIV unit. And finally, the participants will have a better understanding of the priorities for OVC programming. OVC stands for Orphans and Vulnerable Children. This slide outlines the overall HIV and AIDS strategy for the agency. And the overall goal is that CRS, their partners, and the communities that they serve are empowered to implement holistic and integrated HIV and AIDS programming according to the needs of our clients and our beneficiaries, with support from the U.S. constituency. There are 3 strategic objectives within our overall strategy. First and foremost is our HIV projects support integrated and holistic programming. Our second strategic objective is that partners have an increased capacity to implement and to sustain high-quality HIV programming. And finally, CRS's systems, structures, and staffing support high-quality growth of HIV programs that support care and treatment for those infected and those who are affected by the HIV pandemic. So in short, CRS tries to maximize the value that they bring to the communities they serve by working closely with their partners to strengthen the care that they provide, to strengthen the treatment approaches that they provide. Our partners vary quite a bit, but primarily our partners are community-based, and many of our partners are members of the diocese or actually integral components of the Catholic Church within the countries that we work. CRS has really been successful in providing a global response to HIV. Catholic Relief Services has programs in over 60 countries. And there are over 280 projects that reach out to those who are both infected and affected by HIV. In fact, there are over 8 million direct beneficiaries of this global response and 20 million indirect beneficiaries. By that, we are stating that over 8 million people have directly received services, care, treatment, or educational support. And over 20 million within the communities where we work have also had some indirect benefit by having those individuals who've served improve their economic status, improve their health status, and improve their overall outcomes for their lives. And in this way, they have improved the overall quality of life of millions of people worldwide. There are 4 primary response areas to which we direct our attention. Treatment in the way of providing antiretroviral therapy or other clinical treatments related to HIV. This care is delivered to those individuals who are living with HIV. Secondly, we provide services to orphans and vulnerable children. We use the acronym for this group as OVC. Thirdly, we provide home-based care both to people who are living with HIV as well as to their families. And then finally, we provide a broad range of services that are considered under the umbrella of HIV prevention. We're going to talk about each of those priority areas momentarily, but I wanted to first give everyone some background about the global state of HIV. Indeed, this remains a major pandemic that affects all of the countries in the world, and certainly those countries where CRS has priority activities. These are countries that are often the hardest hit for the HIV pandemic. Globally, 60 million people have been infected with HIV, with 25 million approximately having died as a result of HIV and its complications. As of the most recent statistics, which were accumulated at the beginning of the year 2010, 33.3 million people are living with this virus. And there are 2.6 million new infections every year. 1.8 million AIDS-related deaths occur every year. Now, when you look at these numbers, you have to recognize that what we're seeing is that the numbers of people living with HIV globally is increasing over time. While we have millions who die every year, and this is something that we would certainly want to address and to eliminate, we have over 2 million new infections occurring every year. So we have a net increase in the number of people globally who are living with HIV. And this means there's a net increase globally in the number of people who need services, need treatment, need support. There are over 300,000 children who are infected with HIV, and this continues to be a problem primarily through perinatally acquired HIV. These are infections that occur in newborns whose mothers are living with HIV. Young people do account for about 40% of all new infections that are included in adult-acquired or adult-onset HIV infections worldwide. And for this reason, young children and youth remain a priority area for our CRS programs. One, with regards to those 370,000 children who are infected with HIV, we are making efforts to provide more comprehensive treatment and a support to women of reproductive age who are HIV positive. And with effective treatment and effective support, we can virtually eliminate new cases of HIV to newborn children. There are many programs that CRS has been engaged in that support some of these efforts, and we will talk about those later in my presentation. Regarding youth who account for new infections, often considered within the adult category because these are new infections that are acquired in adolescence and young adulthood. This is also a major concern, and we have been engaged in programming that is designed to prevent HIV infection in these young people. We feel that we have been successful in a number of those regards, and I will describe some of those new efforts later in the talk as well. Most of CRS's HIV and AIDS programs have focused on sub-Saharan Africa because that is the region that is most hardest hit by this HIV pandemic. 67% of all people living with HIV worldwide, and over 90% of all new infections to children, to newborns, occurs in this general region. Also, sub-Saharan Africa is home to more than 14 million orphans. Thus, we have a number of programs that we are implementing in sub-Saharan Africa that address the needs of children and youth. Let's talk a little bit more about these orphans and vulnerable children. We frequently use the acronym OVC. OVC has a very specific definition. They are children and youth who are under the age of 18 years, orphaned, or who have been negatively affected by the HIV pandemic. This is a widely accepted and recognized definition, and it is the focus of many of our programs that address the needs of children who have become highly vulnerable as a result of the HIV pandemic. It's a very broad mandate since one has to address the needs of newborns as well as addressing the needs of adolescents. It means that our programming must be broad-based, age-appropriate, and comprehensive. As a result, our CRS programming has reached approximately 650,000 OVC. It's a very ambitious array of programs that we offer, since we have to address the needs of many children and youth living in very diverse settings and in different countries. Nevertheless, CRS, to its credit, has targeted vulnerable children as one of their priority areas, and the target goal is to extend our reach beyond that 650,000 OVC to reach 1 million by the year 2013, and furthermore to reach 2 million OVC by the year 2018. It's an ambitious target. We as an agency have embraced the challenge, and we certainly look to our staff and our teams at the country level, as well as our staff and our teams in headquarters, to mount a global effort to address the needs of these orphans and vulnerable children. OVC programs have to address a number of priority areas, and they're listed here. These programs are country-specific, age-appropriate, and designed with our local partners, many of whom are church partners. These programs focus on strengthening families and communities that provide care and support for orphans and vulnerable children. And finally, the priority areas that we address in all of our programs have been economic strengthening, psychosocial support, and child protection. There are other priority areas that we also address, such as education, health, and nutrition. And we do our best as we build these programs to provide some intersectoral collaboration, such that where our economic strengthening activities are concerned, we try to work with microfinance in combination with them to strengthen our programs. Where child protection and psychosocial support are concerned, we often network with our health or our education sectors. So it really becomes a collaborative effort, and it's not and the success that CRS enjoys reflects not only the work of the HIV and AIDS unit, but the work of many units. Let's consider the work that has been going on with protection. The reality for orphans and vulnerable children who have been affected by the HIV pandemic is that they are frequently relying on the support of their communities and the support of other family members other than their parents for their survival. Within their communities, because their parents are often sick or their parents have died, within their communities, they can experience a fair amount of stigma and discrimination. In the case of our orphans whose parents have died, they may be at risk of losing family property or may be at risk of losing shelter because their parents are no longer caring for them. So what we do with our programming is we provide community-based efforts to reduce stigma and discrimination for these children. When possible, we try to address their needs through community systems and even legal systems to ensure that their inheritance rights are protected. Frequently, our efforts and our programming may be directed at basic services such as birth registration, so that when it's documented that a child is part of a particular family through birth registration, the concerns about inheritance rights and succession planning become a lot easier for them to manage. And these are services and programming that are necessary, since these young children are often unable to manage these types of services without having the support and intervention of Catholic Relief Services. Regarding psychosocial support, many of these children who experience stigma and discrimination may find themselves feeling psychologically anxious, or they may find themselves with other kind of problems of feelings of abandonment, or just needing to have someone who they can talk to, they can look to for support. Often it's a matter of having a support group with their peers so that they can talk to others who share similar experiences, and perhaps in working with their peers who have similar experiences, they can identify ways to meet these challenges and resolve these challenges. For this reason, many of our OVC programs include support groups, whether they are peer support groups, where peer-to-peer support occurs, or it's mentoring with adults who are experts in the counseling field, guiding these young people as they talk about their problems and as they share their problems and look for solutions. Often, where we have communities that are hard hit, it's very difficult to have enough counseling experts or skilled community workers to address these psychosocial needs, and often it's need to train parents or train child care givers to provide this psychosocial support. When parents and other concerned community members or members from the diocese or members of the church community receive this training, they often engage in activities like developing memory books or working through other kinds of either dramatic arts or dance or music to sort of develop some techniques that will support children and strengthen their sense of self-esteem and minimize the stigma and discrimination that they may experience. These memory books, these artistic support programs have been found to be very beneficial to many of the children who are in our programs. For older children, there's life skills training that's become a very integral component of our HIV prevention strategies to address some of the sensitive issues that they may experience and some of the more difficult situations that young people, as they grow into adolescence and young adulthood, address their needs to give them resources that will help them to avoid risky behaviors that might place them at risk for HIV. Finally, for those who have been severely impacted by this pandemic, by loss of parents and by loss of shelter, we often need to provide individual counseling to help address some of the more deeper psychosocial issues. We also have broad-based assessments that we have developed. We're quite proud of the OVC Wellbeing Tool. That is a self-administered tool that is used often to monitor the children's progress, so that those children who are going to benefit from these psychosocial support programs are often assessed using the CRS OVC Wellbeing Tool at baseline prior to their involvement and participation in these many psychosocial support programs. And then they are assessed on a regular basis as they engage in activities with these psychosocial support programs to determine that they are receiving benefit and are improving with regards to their sense of well-being. We're quite proud of this OVC well-being tool, and we find it to be an integral component of the psychosocial support that we provide. Regarding healthcare, it's often very difficult to provide comprehensive health services as a direct provider, because these are services that are often available through other facilities, through Catholic hospitals and Catholic clinics, or through government hospitals in communities or at the regional or even the national level. Regardless of where those services are provided, CRS works directly with providers to facilitate referrals for OVCs so that they can have facilitated access to needed health care. When necessary, we facilitate training of workforce in some of the clinical facilities in Catholic hospitals or in regional hospitals and clinics in the countries where we work, so that the staff can have the best training possible to provide the health services that these orphans and vulnerable children need. In some of our countries, we have been an integral part of providing treatment to children who are living with HIV. The AIDS Relief Program that you'll hear about a little bit later has been an integral provider of health services and treatment to children who are living with HIV. And in fact, 16,000 children in our AIDS relief countries receive this life-saving treatment as a result of HIV. And while we talk about children who are living with HIV often as a separate category within the treatment group, they also are considered as a component of the OVC group as well. And in fact, among our OVC programs, we try to make sure that those children who are living with HIV do get access to antiretroviral treatment when it is needed. And of course, there are linkages to other support services that are health related, including psychosocial services, nutrition services, and just general access to routine well child care. Most of our programs that address the needs of OVC also address educational and vocational training. These programs can be fairly broad in their scope. Some of them are targeted at particular individuals, individual children. Some of them are targeted at communities and schools to provide supplies and to provide school fees for those children who have been rendered vulnerable due to the HIV pandemic. We also provide vocational training, particularly for the older OVCs who have had to drop out of school in order to care for parents or siblings who have been become quite ill as a result of HIV infection. Within the school settings and within our vocational training settings, we often provide the life skills education for our older OVC, and again, we address stigma reduction when possible. We have found that our OVC education and vocational training programs have had a strong positive impact with regards to retention in school, with regards to reducing absenteeism in school, and overall school performance has improved for those OVCs who are able to enroll in education and vocation programs through CRS programming. Nutrition and food security remain some of the priority areas for our OVC programming, and I think some of the programs are listed here on this slide. We try to look at ways to provide sustainable nutritional additives, particularly targeting those sustainable programs that will improve food security. So for this reason, we have things like keyhole gardens. That picture demonstrates is an example of one of our keyhole gardens. These are small gardens, often in the backyard of the homes where OVC live. And these small gardens are structured to provide a renewable and sustainable source of vegetables, legumes for the families where these OVC live. Through the Junior Farmer Field and Life Schools programs, these young people learn to tend these gardens and maintain these gardens, which can be particularly valuable when access to food can be very difficult due to lack of economic resources. And then finally, we are often engaged in seed fairs or goat fairs where animals and seeds are made available to families to provide an ongoing source of either milk or through the seeds an ongoing source of seeds to use in their gardens to provide sustainable food sources for families. Economic strengthening is also one of our priority areas, and there's been a number of successes that we have had, particularly with our adolescents, with our child caregivers, and with some of the parents who are living with HIV. We have a number of programs that focus on SILK, which is Savings and Internal Lending, that provide access to funds to start up businesses, to sustain other commercial activities for vulnerable children and for their families. There's also business skills training through vocational training, and many of these programs have allowed our older OVCs to link through apprenticeships with master trainers in carpentry, in other technical skills that have allowed them to gain a technical skill that allows them to make a living, earn a wage, and to sustain their families. We're very, very proud of these opportunities. And again, it reflects not only what happens through HIV and AIDS programming, but it reflects the collaborative approach between our sectors through microfinance and through HIV and AIDS. And we feel this collaboration strengthens our collective efforts. Regarding HIV treatment, there are a number of successes that we have. First of all, the AIDS Relief Program, which has been one of our primary programs, it remains one of our priorities to provide HIV treatment to the persons living with HIV through programs like AIDS Relief. AIDS Relief began in 2004, and in our efforts to make these HIV treatment programs like AIDS Relief sustainable, the AIDS Relief Program is in the process of transitioning its services to local partners, many of whom are local Catholic partners in many of the countries where we serve. The AIDS Relief Program began in 2004 and grew to its current level, where it is providing treatment to over 190,000 patients in 10 countries. These patients are receiving antiretroviral therapy, and they're receiving other treatment for other co-infections, such as tuberculosis or hepatitis C virus. And should they become ill with other opportunistic infections, those services are also provided. When we consider our care and our treatment, as well as the antiretroviral therapy program, the ART program, over 400,000 patients have been served. Again, not only has the program grown in the number of patients that they take care of, but we've grown considerably in the number of local partners with whom we work. There are about 220 local partner treatment facilities that we work with, plus an additional 250 satellite sites that we work with in 9 countries. One country, South Africa, transitioned their program some years ago from being uniquely under the umbrella of AIDS relief to being managed by the South African Catholic Bishops' Conference, which is SACBC. We consider this a great positive outcome, that the AIDS relief program was able to strengthen the HIV treatment in South Africa, and we built capacity through SACBC to the point where they were able to transition to become independent and manage their programs as the primary providers of ART. The programs continue to thrive under SACBC, and we think that in our other 9 countries, we will be equally successful in building capacity within our local partners. Prevention is another area that we focus on, and it is another priority area that we focus on through our HIV and AIDS programming. First, we consider the importance of prevention of mother-to-child transmission, also called PMTCT. As a result of our treatment programs, such as AIDS relief, CRS has helped to boost the number of mothers who are living with HIV and who are pregnant. We have been able to boost the proportion of those women who enroll in PMTCT programs to prevent transmission of HIV to their newborns. And we've been able to successfully maintain them in care beyond the pregnancy through the newborn period. And then as they transition to needing long-term, lifelong care as people living with HIV, they've sustained their involvement and participation in our ART programs. We think that this is critically important as many of our countries address the Millennium Development Goals. We address other initiatives that are national and global priorities that focus on 0 new HIV infections. And the treatment of expectant mothers is enormously successful in reducing, minimizing, in fact, perinatally acquired HIV. We also have abstinence programs that provide support to youth to delay sexual debut. 2 of our programs that have been very effective are the We Stop AIDS campaign, and then there's In Charge, which is our life skills training programs that we referenced earlier in this presentation. Both of these programs, when addressing the needs of youth, focus on abstinence as the ideal way to prevent HIV. The Faithful House is a program that addresses the needs of couples. And this program is active in 11 countries. With the Faithful House, couples receive training to encourage faithfulness, to encourage support where one or both partners is living with HIV. And it also encourages couples to educate and make their communities more aware of the need to reduce behaviors that will spread HIV. They also encourage the couples to support their children in their efforts to enroll in our support groups for youth. Our evaluations show some benefits through increased fidelity among couples who participate in the Faithful House, and we also find that the church strongly supports the efforts of the Faithful House. And our hope and our plan is to expand our reach of the Faithful House model to other countries as well. Finally, our fourth priority is home-based care. And we have home-based care programming in over 25 countries. With home-based care, we supplement and support the needs for treatment and a setting, the homes, where many of our people living with HIV are going to be most comfortable and will receive the bulk of their care and treatment, particularly in the early phases of their HIV treatment. Similarly, we reach out to families and we reach out to communities through home-based care to encourage HIV counseling and testing of all family members. Unfortunately, many of our clients who receive home-based care still do not have access to treatment. We do all that we can to expand access to treatment through our home-based care models. And it's through these referral networks and community outreach that we have hope that more will be able to access this treatment when it is needed. When palliative care is needed, the home-based care units often are available to provide this palliative care, and also they receive a fair amount of support through our local church networks when this kind of care is warranted. To learn more about CRS's HIV and AIDS programmings, I encourage you to use the CRS website, crs.org. I also encourage you to network as a college ambassador. Many of your colleges and universities have programs that address the needs of global health and increase awareness. As a college ambassador, it would be important for you to become part of these networks and to do what you can to raise the awareness of the college ambassadors and of the Catholic school networks and Catholic networks on your campuses that look at the global problems of HIV and AIDS and the global problems presented by many global health issues. So we encourage you to increase your awareness, get engaged and stay engaged as a college ambassador, and do remember that Catholic Relief Services wants to be a resource for you, and we look forward to engaging with you in any way that you feel that would be useful to you and your role as college ambassador. I want to thank you for your attention. I hope that this presentation has given you information and insights into the varied programs that CRS makes available. I hope that you understand the comprehensive approach to our HIV strategy, our comprehensive approach to our priority areas of treatment, orphans and vulnerable children, prevention, and home-based care. And we hope to see you stay involved in the effort to reduce the complications and reduce the spread of the HIV pandemic. Thank you. Thank you very much.